I hope you're well, BlaXit family. I hope you can hear me. Can we have a mic check, sound check out there? Apologies, I'm a little bit tardy today. Let me just get my headgear on properly, get my head ready. Welcome to BlaXit. Welcome to BlaXit. Welcome to BlaXit. Happy holidays. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Xmas, New Year, whatever you celebrate. I hope you spent quality time with loved ones. And if you're on your own, I hope you still enjoyed yourself. So welcome to BlaXit, everybody. Am I live? Our moderator today is Caffrey. Thank you, Caffrey, very much for moderating today on today's live. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Right, that's better. It's at the back. Right. Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to the new year. If you celebrate the Gregorian calendar, that is, welcome, welcome. For all those people that don't, likewise, it's the same to you. So I'm Nyancho Kajabi. I'm your host for today's live broadcast. And I'm also the CEO and founder of BlaXit. And my African name, which I prefer to go by, is Nyancho Kajabi. So welcome. Let me know if you can see and hear me. I would really appreciate that. If you could let me know if you could see and hear me. That would be amazing. Thank you so much. So please come into the comment section. Just let me know if you can see and hear me. Okay, so let me just say, first of all, welcome and congratulations to everybody that in 2025 or 2024, 2023, 2022, we've been doing this for a while. Our first expedition to Africa with our group trip was actually in 2016. So we've been doing this for a while. So if you have taken the opportunity between then and now to travel to Africa and to enjoy Africa, thank you. I just want to say congratulations for stepping on Mother Earth. It doesn't matter whether it was Ghana, Gambia, Rwanda, it makes no difference. I just really appreciate the fact that you've come onto the shores of Africa. So welcome. Do let me know who you are in the comment section so that I can big you up. I can say hello. And also let me know where you are actually watching us from. It's really nice to know that we are reaching far and wide, even though we're face shadow banning because of our content. BlaXit, if you're new to the channel, welcome, welcome. BlaXit is all about your exit from the West back to the best, and that is Africa. It's about your relocation, repatriation back to your nation, and that is Africa. It's about your mind emancipation. It's about your liberation. It's about your freedom, and it is about our reparations. So it's our time. It's our time. I'm broadcasting here from Africa, West Africa. I'm on the west coast of Africa. I'm here in the beautiful, beautiful smiling coast of the Gambia, which is the country that I chose to repatriate to BlaXit to. That's what BlaXit means. BlaXit is about your repatriation back to Africa. BlaXit isn't about going to any other country. I've seen a lot of people try and hijack the concept. No, it is not. BlaXit is about coming back to Africa. Now, I know it's the holidays and everything, and people are probably preparing to go back to work. So if you are on today's live, I appreciate you being here. And I want to say thank you so much for your attention, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I know the world seems to be quite an unpredictable place at the moment, with lots of things happening, particularly in America. There's a lot of things happening from America, particularly in the last few days for this new year, which hasn't been ideal news to start the new year with. But I would like to say touche and congratulations to Burkina Faso, to Mali and Niger. Those nations have done incredibly well. They faced travel bans from the US, and they in turn did what we call the law of oh, Juliet, get this word out right. Oh, why is this word in my head? Okay, let's just say they did it back. Yeah, it's called reciprocity. I don't know why I couldn't get it out. Okay, but it was a law of reciprocity, and they gave back exactly the same and decided to put travel bans also on America, which of course, they saw it as tit for tat. Now, when America was doing it, that's how the BBC reported it anyway. But that's neither here nor there. The fact that what I really respect is that Africa is standing on business. African nations are now saying we refuse to be bullied. We refuse to be bullied. And so this is very important that going into 2026, that we are standing on our sovereignty as African nations. I'm always talking about sovereignty and how important it is. And, Africa is on the rise for 2026. So if you've not been to Africa, please arrange. We're actually going to be arranging a trip this year. We're going to go, 2016 was the last time that we did a trip. So we're now organising a trip, if you like, to commemorate that, the 10-year anniversary. So we're going to organise an organised trip to the Gambia. So if you're interested, it will be with inclusive of tours and events and everything else, but it will be BlaXit led. Okay, so it will be a BlaXit led tour. We are going to be working with Gambian owned venues and Gambian owned tour operators. Okay, so we are looking to organize that and get that out as soon as possible. So watch this space. Congratulations to everybody that got their 25% discounted land during the New Year sale. Congratulations to you also, because you done yourself a wonderful, you gifted yourself a wonderful gift of land. And, land is one of the most important resources in the whole entire planet. In fact, I think it's one of the most precious resources in the planet, because we need it to live on. We need it, to feed us. We need it for water. We need it for our survival. We need it for our shelter. So, congratulations to all of those people that have done it. And well done to Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. Well done also to Namibia, that is also taking control of their resources, and also Guinea. So Africa is now beginning to wake up and shake up. And I also think that Nigeria, after many of us actually, spoke about what was going on in Nigeria, has now had a slight rethink of the choices that they're making in terms of how to handle domestic issues. Because that is what it is. It's a domestic issue. And I did put out a post, if everyone saw, talking about we don't need this international military intervention on our sovereign soil. Okay, and so I'll stand by that. But I want to thank you all, for everyone that has come through BlaXit, that has purchased their repatriation plots, for everybody that has come here to live, because many people have got their houses and are living here now, running their businesses, and some people who I supported with business development, their businesses are thriving. I am glad to say, successfully, it has been great working with you, okay? So I would like to say welcome to Andrew Kelly. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining BlaXit. If you would like me to mention you, just come up in the first few minutes of every show. I do that, and I also talk about just some basic housekeeping within the comment section. As I explained to you, we have a moderator. Our moderator is Cafe. Cafe is just 15 years old, so please keep it clean. Okay. And also, please, with respect, we are a high vibrational channel. We do not tolerate low vibrational activities. We only work on high frequency and intellect and wisdom. We're about unity. We're about us coming together. We're about our development. We're about our self-determination. We're about our progress. We're about our way of governing our own African countries. We're not about let them keep their capitalism. Okay, we are about Africanism. Okay, so let's keep moving forward. So let me know who you are. So sweet, is that Delbin? How are you? 113. How are you? Welcome. You're loud and clear. Thank you so much. That's what I needed. Thank you so much for the confirmation. So yeah, as you see, 2026 has started, unfortunately, with a not so welcome bang. And so how does this impact Africa? What has this got to do with Africa? I do believe that the Donald Dump, did I say Donald Dump? I meant to say Donald Duck. Maybe the same thing. But anyway, Donald Duck, the leader of the US, that's our nickname for him. We call him Donald Duck because we do find him to be quite comical and quite like a cartoon here on this channel. So we've likened him to Donald Duck. Okay, so Donald Duck has decided to go colonizer. Oh my goodness. He's gone back to doing exactly what they did in slavery, which is go, kidnap, abduct, imprison, and then go and take the resources. Oh my goodness, it's happening here in 2026. Okay? Donald Duck has lost his mind. On Christmas Day, which was represented by the 25th of December, he was in Nigeria. Now, I've got to ask myself, hasn't America got its own problems? Hasn't America got its own problems? They were in Nigeria, helping in their all-Christian stand to fight against the so-called terrorism of Boko Haram. Now, the question remains, was that successful? Of course it was not successful. They don't even understand the concept of Boko Haram or where it comes from, who funds it and where it is. Because if they did, they certainly wouldn't be bombing in the middle of people's farms. In Sokoto, in Nigeria. Anyway, that's just a bit of humor for you. But seriously, I'm glad that people weren't injured because, I just don't think that they need to be working on their intelligence. As you know, with the recent, I don't even know what to call it, capture, enslavement, capture, abduction, kidnapping of a president of a sovereign nation, after bombing and attacking them using their Delta Force in order, and CIA planted intelligence over months to go and apprehend a leader under the so-called ideology of narcotics. Now, they always have something. When it was Iran, it was weapons of mass destruction. When it was Libya, of course, they were afraid of the African dinar, that Gaddafi was bringing in. And of course, it goes on and on and on and on. But I would like to say that, it's all about oil. It's got absolutely nothing to do with narcotics or guns. I mean, America manufacture guns. So let's talk about hypocrisy, okay? Let's really go into hypocrisy, okay? And let's talk facts, because I just don't want to talk, okay? So America, what is one of their biggest industries? Isn't it arms? So you've gone to arrest someone about arms dealing or whatever, when you actually manufacture arms. Hypocrisy. Now they say, oh, it's narcotic terrorism. Now, I thought most of the narcotics actually came from Colombia, but I might be wrong. Maybe, I'm under a fallacy and it's actually Venezuela. I'm not sure. But is this really a threat? This is a threat for Africa. What they're actually doing is sending a threatening message to Africa to saying, if you keep on doing this under our control, this is what we're going to do to you. And so by going into Nigeria and bombing Nigeria, they're showing that they have people in their pockets in the same way that they use the Caribbean in order to surround Venezuela. As you know, Venezuela is covered by like 15 different countries, including, Montserrat, which is a British colony, and then you have many other colonized countries in the Caribbean there. I think Real Man in the Bush said, yes, he's a bully. He's a joke. Yes. And I'm so glad that you caught my live. Again. Oh my goodness. Why do I keep doing this? Do you know why? Because I forget to take it off. But I will do it right now. So Willie Rivers. Welcome. Welcome. It's so lovely for you to join us. Thank you, Willie. I do miss talking to you. And I'm great. Thank you so much. My back is not hurting as much as it was. I'm so grateful to say. So Willie Rivers, thank you. Although I'm not totally out of the river. I'm still having pain, but it's not as bad. It's not as excruciating as it was. So I'm healing. So I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you so much. And I would like to say a big happy birthday to my wonderful son. I love you so much. And I'm so proud of you. You are the best. Okay. So, Terrifiers, I don't know where you got that from, but you need to come off the line because now, I explained to you about the housekeeping and we put rubbish in the bin. So I think Terrifiers needs to be put in the bin, mod. Let's put him in the bin. Okay. So, right, next. We were talking about the Delta unit of the US military that directly went into and did an armed attack, and killed innocent people. They're saying about 40 people were murdered during this attack, but it hasn't actually been confirmed. This is in a forcible abduction of the President Nicolas Maduro. And of course, it's a socialist government. Let me just add, okay? And before there was Che Guevara. So anyway, under the guise, of course, narco-terrorism and gun crimes, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is for a country which has legalized guns. I've never heard of it. But let's talk about, I'm confused because let's talk about narcotics. Let's talk about narcs and let's talk about America, just to start, before we even get into this. Because another thing is, isn't Venezuela a member of the UN? So if they're a member of the United Nations, right, isn't the Charter 2, subsection 4, right, for all member states, which is Venezuela, must refrain from the threat or use of force against territorial integrity or political independence of any state. And therefore, as members, America is supposed to observe that. America aren't members of the UN, by the way. And you can now see why. Because they want to do what they want. They want to occupy lawlessness, absolutely ridiculous and crazy lawlessness. There are exceptions, okay, which is what they might try and use. The exception is Article 51. Article 51 talks about self-defense, right? But of course, that doesn't apply. There was no threat, okay? Article 42 talks about restoring international peace. That doesn't apply because there was no threat. Okay, and at the end of the day, I know what it's about. I think it's about American debt. America's in debt. Okay, US national debt currently stands at 38.5 trillion. If you didn't know, and I'm going to show you the trickery that they've got going on. So American debt, their national debt, stands at currently 38.5 trillion, which is driven by persistent deficits from spending exceedingly And obviously, revenue is representing a big portion of their GDP. So now your GDP is what we call your gross domestic product. Your gross domestic product is, how do I explain it? It's like the government finances debt, right? Let me explain as well a little bit first about the national debt. So the government finances their debt by selling marketable securities like bonds, such as treasury bill notes, yeah? And they function as notes, yeah, which the government pays interest on. So just so that you understand how it works. So the US GDP, which is the gross domestic product, which is basically what is produced in that country, products and services which is produced in that country, in the borders of that country, is 31 trillion. Make it make sense. So their GDP of their income, which is supposed to make them the most powerful, the most richest nation on the earth, is just 31 trillion. But the debt is 38 trillion. What does that make you? Doesn't it make you broke? If you owe more than you have, doesn't it make you technically broke? So if it makes you technically broke, that's why you're going into Africa. That's why you're going into Nigeria. You don't give two flying Fs about Boko Haram. You don't give two flying Fs about the Christians. You're just going there for the oil. And how is that confirmed? By what they did in Venezuela. They did in Venezuela. Why? Because Venezuela has 300 billion barrels of reserve oil. Okay? 300 billion. And then during the press conference, okay, what does Donald Duck say? Donald Duck says very clearly that we're going to go in with our largest oil companies to go and manage their assets to give the money back to the people. Oh, really? Since when? Since when? Let me come back and read your comments, okay? So Willie Rivers said greetings. I said that. He said hi. Thank you so much. And Real Man in the Bush said America is broke. Okay. I agree. I agree with that. Yeah. Michael 484 says, why does this look like AI? AI? In what sense do you think it's AI? You think the bombings are AI? You think that the whole thing is a hoax? Is that what you're saying? Explain to me what you mean so that I can understand. So the GDP is 31 trillion, okay? And the gross domestic product is basically the measures of the total value, like I was saying, of all goods and services produced within a country's borders. So your national debt is 38 trillion, but your GDP is 31 trillion. Make that make sense, fam. So what do you have to do? You have to go shopping to go and steal and rob from other nations. So what do? You make up a story. You make up a story. Now let me just explain to you why it's a story. Okay? Now, over in America, they sell something which is one of their number one narcotic drugs, which is called marijuana. Some people call it weed. Some people call it Mary Jane. Yeah. Some people call it herb. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. So one of their domestic products is marijuana. Okay. Now, America has about 7.8 million people which are unemployed. Okay. Now, they have approximately 48.4 million Americans which are aged 12 years plus that have had an SUD, which is a substance use disorder. So 48.4 million. So what they're trying to do is to blame other nations. Other nations. This is why he called it a narc terrorist attack. And this is why I'm telling us we have to watch Africa. We have to watch what they're going to try to do with Africa, because how they penetrated Venezuela, because they're going to try the same thing on Captain Ibrahima Traore. They've already done 22 attempts on his life already. Okay, they've already tried to penetrate Mali, trying to penetrate Niger. And this is why Nigeria should never have allowed America on their soil, should never have allowed America on their soil, because they just want access and they want Nigeria's oil. Because what they're trying to do, they're trying to create instability, and they do it all the time. It's the same trick every single time. So anyway, when they calculate the current market prices, it's referred to as the nominal GDP, and it's usually used to compare, right, the size of national economies. So they always make it a fake Suez story. Okay. Yeah, you're right. They're doing it for oil. So Sir Oliver says that they're doing it for oil. Okay, so let's just talk about, he said that he's arrested him because of narcotics. Okay, he's a narc terrorist. Now let's talk about this so-called narc terrorism. Okay, so in America they have 48.4 million Americans aged 12 and over, right, which have had a substance use disorder. Okay, disorder. I said disorder. Now Donald Duck is fighting narcotics, right? And you know, the number one narcotic of choice in America is alcohol, with 28.9 people, right, who have a substance disorder relating to alcohol. So that's a narcotic. Why aren't they fighting the war on that with Jim Beam and all of these other producers that they have in America? 28.9 million people have an alcoholics and have an alcoholic dependency issue, okay? Which is followed by marijuana, which is 19.2 million people which have a substance disorder, right? A substance misuse disorder, an addiction to weed. So you've got 28.9, which is on alcohol. There's no war on alcohol, though. Who's going to go and bomb America for alcohol? Right? Because they're, you know, selling it to their people, allowing their people to die of liver, of cirrhosis of the liver, right? And other alcoholic issues and overdose. You know, I even had one member of my uncle's ex-wife actually had died in that way of in England of an overdose in alcohol. So I've seen it firsthand how destructive it can be. So, you know, 28.9, and she lost her life. She lost her life on my son's birthday, on my second son's birthday. It was absolutely devastating, you know, and it was hard. I actually, you know, but anyway, I won't talk about that. It was very traumatic for me because I had to support my cousin, you know. Anyway, so I was saying that weed, marijuana, Mary Jane, herb, whatever you want to call it, right, is 19.2 million. So they're going to another country, okay? Let me just put this into context now, right? They've gone into another country, and let's talk about nicotine too, because they do nicotine too. And nicotine has 23.6 million people in America that are addicted to nicotine, okay? So let's make this make sense, okay? Let's make this make sense. So in America, right, they are one of the largest producers of alcohol. Okay, they're the second largest producer of alcohol beverages globally, right? 9.5% of the global market, yeah, with a revenue of over $295 billion. They make money from alcohol. So all of these people that are dying from alcoholic-related deaths, remember that in America, according to the JAMA network, yeah, I'm talking about black people, I'm talking about us. Okay, I'm talking about us. I'm talking about Africans born anywhere globally, yeah? As long as you're black, you're African, right? 1.63 million excess deaths because of racism in America, according to the JAMA network. And they have their report. You can go and see it. You can go and prove it. 1.63 million, right? That's more than nearly 3/4 of the population of this whole country that I'm living in. Imagine dying within 10 years. Because of racism with regard to, a lot of incompetency with regard to medical interactions, let's just say. Okay, so the revenue is 295 billion from alcohol, and it generates 4 million jobs. And they export 2.2, the export income is 2.2 billion. Okay, this is what I'm trying to tell you, right? So let's talk about the other narcotic then, you know, because they're talking about the other ones, but let's talk about the fact that opioid disorder and opioid use is only 2.7 million. So you've gone to go and take a president out of his sovereign nation talking about a war on narcotics, right? A war on narcotics, when your narcotic problem in your country is only 2.7 million people, where you have something like 48.4 million Americans, right, that have a substance use disorder. And the majority of them is either alcohol or it's weed. So make that make sense. Make that make sense. How does that even work? And I'm going to explain to you why as well. It's because of the PPP. I'm going to go back into the PPP in a minute, okay? But marijuana is the second most used narcotic in America, okay? But America is one of the world's leading producers of marijuana. Make that make sense. So who's going to go and bomb America? Who's going to go and bomb America? America is one of the world's leading producers of marijuana. And I'm telling you, it wasn't. This is a warning sign that they're trying to send to warning African nations that we can come in, we can take your government out, we can take over, and we can take your resources. It's bully, 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 bully. It's just a warning sign to Africa. But you know what? We're not backing down, okay, Donald Duck? We're not backing down. So let me just tell you about America, okay? Let's talk about narcotics, okay? Let's talk about who's producing narcotics. So like I said, America is one of the world's leading producers of narcotics, including state-sanctioned legal, okay, markets, okay, that have extensive cultivation. And I'm only going to talk about one region because it's like it will take up the whole program if I was to talk about all the different states that do narcotics from California to wherever. So I just focused on the cultivation, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I talked about Oregon. Now, Oregon, right, reported that they created over 13.5 million wet pounds in 2025. So why isn't anyone going and bombing Oregon? It's a narcotic. It's a bigger problem than opioid. It's a bigger problem than heroin. It's a bigger problem than pharmaceuticals. So why isn't anyone going and bombing all of these people that are going to have these addictions in Oregon, because they have produced 13.5 million wet pounds in 2025. That's just 1 year. We're now in 2026. So in 2025, Oregon, right, reported that they produced 13.5 million wet pounds in 2025, okay? Now, let's get onto market value. Let's talk money, okay? So the market value, the US legal, right, projection, right, reached 36.8 billion, and that's for 2026. That's the income that they're bringing in from narcotics, okay? Employment, they said it's about 40,500 full-time employment jobs created from the narcotic. The same narcotic that they've got our black men going to jail for. The same narcotic that they're locking up our black men in America, putting them in penitentiary for catching them with a joint. This is the same narcotic that they are penalizing black people for. And this is why I talk about the hypocrisy. They went and they took someone out of their country for a problem that they have only 2.7, right, out of the 48.4 billion, okay? The 48.4 billion They went and took someone out of their country. 48.4 million people in America that have a substance use disorder. Right, out of the 48.4, only 2.7 million have an opioid use or heroin misuse disorder. So what are they talking about? What war is there really on narcotics? Who's that? Sasko, how are you? Yeah, Sasko Milivinsky, how are you? Yeah, there's no point. Okay, I'm live again. I'm back. Sorry about that. It might be the internet because it's the holidays. So if it does get a bit zippy, I might end early. Gina Gilt said modern day slavery, the new Egypt the Bible talks about. Well, there you have it. Yeah. It said weed is so good and soda is so bad. The fact of the matter is it's not. It's the usage of it. It depends on how it's used. It's just like, some people say fire. You can either use it to go and cook a meal or you can use it to burn a house down. Cannabis, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, weed, herb, it has medicinal uses. It can be used to treat glaucoma. It can be used to treat people with multiple sclerosis. It does have many beneficial uses. It's been used in cancer for medical uses. It does have many medical uses, but it's also been abused, creating problems such as medical psychosis, things such as schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder, bipolar disorder, especially when mixed with other drugs. And it has been used. But the thing is that why are so many people in America using so many drugs? Is it such a bad place to be that you have to use, drugs to escape? Is that what it is? But the fact of the matter is that, this whole thing is a hypocrisy. It's a hypocrisy, and anyone with common sense, just do your own research. You don't even have to listen to me. You can go and do your own research to realize what's going on is a total hypocrisy. America manufactures arms. Arms and defense contracts is one of their biggest industries and businesses, the same as the UK. So how are you going to go and talk about people about arms when you manufacture them? I honestly, is it me? Okay. Is it me? And so people are saying to me, let's talk about Christians being slaughtered in America. Okay, sorry, in Africa. Okay, when you're saying Africa, you must not say that because there's 54 different countries in Africa. Where are you referring to? Are you talking about, and I said to you, come back to me and tell me who funds Boko Haram. You understand? Tell me who funds Boko Haram. Tell me what area they come from. Tell me about the precious minerals such as californium that is in that area. Who is really funding it and what do they really want? And what are these NGOs suddenly doing in this area where there's minerals, expensive minerals, including californium, which is $27 million a gram? Yeah? You don't think that some of these things are a front? So they're creating religious wars. Yeah, what is you've got to remember, there was something like, I don't even remember. I remember once doing some research on the Christian Crusades. And I was so shocked when I did research on the Christian Crusades and found out how many crusades there was. There was something like over 2,000 Christian crusades, and each of these crusades, they're murdering people. Okay? So I'm not going on any side. I don't think people should be killed because of what they believe in. I don't think anyone should be killed because of what they believe in. But Christians have murdered just the same way. Do you understand? They're trying to make it, it's like a Sunni Muslim thing, or it's a that Muslim thing, or that. No, we're going to fall into the trap. They just want division. They just want division. That is what they want. And at the end of the day, if we play into their hands, That's all they've done over the years, right? Is divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer. If you go back and you look at our, the epoch of our enslavement, of our genocide, of their war on us, their war on Africa, where they kidnapped us, where they abducted us out of our nation. What did they do? And then when they got to America, what did they do? You got, they use deep psychology to separate people by complexion, by age. Then they created a class system. Then they did color system. They'll do any difference. And then they did monetary system. Okay, any difference that they can use to divide people, that is what they're going to do. Okay, most of the world's population are actually what I call dark-skinned people. Okay? When I went to Mexico, right, I'm not going to lie to you. When I went to Mexico City, I've been to what? I think it's 31 countries, right? When I went to Mexico City, I got a shock. When I saw the people there. The majority of them were darker than me. I was like, word to the bomb. And then this was the time when they were talking about swine flu, right? Anyway, so they're telling me not to travel. I said, I've done booked my ticket and I'm going to Mexico and I don't care. And after I've been to Mexico, I'm going to Cuba and I don't care. So whatever it is, I'll wear a mask, whatever, but I'm going, right? So they try to, tell people, don't go to Mexico, don't go to Mexico. This is my own personal experience. It was me and my daughter. We went to Mexico, okay? It was for her 18th birthday. We went to Mexico and we went to Cuba, all right? We went to Varadero in Cuba, okay? And we went to Mexico City, right? Because I said to her, you're 18, where do you want to go for your birthday? And then she said it. And so I said, okay, we'll book it. I'm so sorry, right? I've had this horrible cough. So I'm just trying to make sure I keep my throat clear so I don't cough from all over you. So, not that I could, but you know what I mean. Cough all over the broadcast. So let me just finish. So anyway, they said swine flu. I don't know if you remember this. I'm going back some time ago, okay? So don't fly out because of swine flu. When I arrived in Mexico, everyone was as normal. I was shocked. I didn't even see no one wearing no masks, not even at the airport. Not even at the airport, you hear me? On the news, they had all this swine flu. When I arrived there was no such thing as no swine flu. So I saw how powerful the media is. Can I have some likes, please, fam, if you don't mind? Please give me some thumbs up and some likes. And subscribe to BlaXit if you haven't already. I would really, really appreciate it. Please, so that you can, be notified of when we're going live and when we're putting programs out. I would really appreciate it. So I noticed the same thing with COVID and other things as well, in order to get people to take that, that jib jab. And so many things have happened, but there's been so much misinformation, and we're allowing it to continue but we're the world majority. So why are we letting these Neanderthals, these Anglo-Saxons do this to us? Shouldn't we unify? Shouldn't we come together? Because this has been going on for too long. Jamie said, I'm talking about, hello Jamie, how are you? I'm talking about alcohol too, yeah? It was about hard drugs, not weed. Yeah, but I'm saying that hard drugs is 2.7 million, okay? Now, I'm saying that you're hypocrites. You're hypocrites, okay? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Double Duck is a hypocrite. He's a lying, two-faced hypocrite. Donald Duck is a lying, two-faced hypocrite to go into other people's countries to talk about narcotics, right? When he's producing, right, the second most largest used narcotic in his country. It doesn't matter because opioids, right, is only 2.7 million having usage, right? Whereas if you're going to talk about narcotics, weed, the second use of weed, right, and the people that use weed, right, and let's talk about also people that die of lung cancer, right, 23 million, right, 23.6 million nicotine. People still die of that. So why are you focusing on everything else? That's why I said it's hypocrisy. Why are you dealing with it? He's sidelining you. He's sidelining you. So people don't die of lung cancer. No. People don't die of throat cancer because of cigarettes and the nicotine and all of the other, and those are addictive and all of the other things that they put in there. People don't die of tongue cancer. Like I said, it's hypocrisy. Yeah, it's a drug of choice. But only 2.7 million people in America have an opioid use disorder. Only 2.7. But 28.9 have an alcohol problem. Okay? And many people die of alcohol misuse and abuse and overdose. Okay? And 19.2 million people have a marijuana use. So why not tackle the two biggest numbers? The two biggest numbers are alcohol and weed. Right? Marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want to call it. Those are the two number one. And people have mental health disorders and go and kill people, right? And have psychosis under weed. I'm not saying that we can't be used for medical uses. Yes, it can. Alcohol can be used as white spirit for medical uses, right, as well. But the point I'm making is that when used in abundance, it can be misused. The same as with opioids. Some people live as you know, using addicts their whole life. But what I'm trying to say is it's not that. It's not that. It's a warning call to Africa. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't believe none of it. They're just trying to send a warning call to Africa. And you know what? Let me tell you, Donald Duck, Africa is not scared because Africa is different now. Because you know what? Africa is not going to be colonized again. And I'm telling you, if all of my black brothers and sisters, all of my African brothers and sisters born in America, let me tell you, it's time to get out. Because if you don't think all of these actions are going to have a backlash, you're mistaken. If you don't think any of these actions are going to have a backlash, you're mistaken. Because Karma knows exactly his address. Time to leave America. America is racking up a bill that it can't pay. America's in debt. I just told you. The American national debt, go and research it, is 38.5 trillion. The American GDP is 31 trillion. Make that make sense. Your debt is more than you are bringing in. And what did he say? He said he's going into Venezuela because they want to control the oil. It's very obvious. He's in Nigeria. He's not there to talk about killing Christians or anybody else. It's there for oil. Because this is not a holy war, right? This is a money war. This is an economics war. This is economic warfare. This is financial warfare. That is exactly what it is. Because he's got such a big addiction problem in his own country, 48.4 million. Why isn't he having a war on alcohol? Why isn't he having a war on cannabis instead of producing it, growing it, and selling it? Why isn't he having a war on alcohol? Instead of importing 295, creating $295 billion from it annually. Okay, I'll rest my case. Like I said, you might think I don't have a case, but I'm just saying that this is how I feel, right? Because it's about the PPP, purchasing power parity, yeah? Purchasing power parity. And another reason as well why they don't want you to come to Africa as well is because they know that you would help to build the economy, right? Because the purchasing power parity here, especially like if you're coming from America or you're coming from the UK or Europe or whatever, your purchasing power parity is very, 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 very strong. Okay, it's very strong because your purchasing power parities are basically about the goods that cost that you put into your basket. Okay, so China right now is like leading in that and they surpass America. Why? Because they produce cheaper goods. Okay, And so because of that, is their relative income as well, right? Is that they can actually buy more with their money than you can in America, because the goods are more expensive, and American produced goods are more expensive than Chinese produced goods. Okay, and they use it to develop, usually like developing economies with advanced ones. Okay, but when you come to Africa with your pounds, with your dollars, with your euros, with your yen, wherever you're coming from, you have that purchasing power parity to help build internet. I do apologize about that. I realized that they were slow, but I'm saying that you can use your money and you can now invest in gold in Burkina Faso. You can go and invest in so many areas in Africa, and they don't want your money to be leaving. But listen, if we stop buying their products, stop buying their nicotine, stop buying their alcohol, stop buying their number one producing products, we stop buying it and we start investing in ourselves, start investing in Africa, start investing in land, and get back to Africa, then you know what? We can make a difference in this world. And like I said, I want that to be our New Year's revolutions. Okay, I talked about New Year's revolutions, and I want them to be it. So I know a lot of people probably left because they thought it was gone. So let me just quickly close up by saying hello to Zipa Ade Judah. Yeah, also to Jamie. Hello, Jamie. And Delroy Thomas. Hello. Hello, Delroy. And Sir Silver. Okay, Sir Silver. Thank you. And of course, Man in the Bush. Okay, if I've missed you, I apologize. And Junior, thank you. No narcotics. Yeah, I agree with you, Sass. Kelly said, don't make this weird. I don't understand. Mark Elise, it's not weird that was coming in the US. Yeah, no, but this is my point. I'm saying that they're saying they have a narcotics problem. They have a narcotics problem in their own country. I'm saying to you that if there's only 2.7, they're just servicing 2.7 million people. But, you know, look at the other numbers. So let's not separate the narcotics, because at the end of the day, right, they also use cocaine when they're going to be using it for dental purposes. They also use cocaine in cocodamol and other pharmaceuticals. So let's not all be hypocrites. Let's not, you know, let's be real about it. Yeah, cocaine was even used in beverages in the past. Okay. And Real Man in the Bush said, yes, America is horrible. Roderick says, where are you from? I bet they get high as well. I'm not saying people don't get high. I don't know why you would even make that comparison. I mean, like I said, Africa is different. I can't talk about all African countries. I can only talk about the ones that I've been to, but primarily the one that I live in, because it's a majority Muslim country, they don't consume alcohol. To be honest with you, smoking's not a huge issue here, and drugs aren't really a huge issue. And I think part of that is because of, you know, the way of life of the people here, the lifestyle. The lifestyle, it just seems to me to be more relaxed, more natural, more cleaner. Much more cleaner. I'm not saying that, you know, there's no intervention or influence from the West. Of course there is. Yeah, I'm not saying that people aren't going to try and bring drugs in. This is a global problem. You know, the drug problem is a global problem, but I'm just saying that it's a big problem in America than it is here on the continent. Okay, well, let's not say continent. I'll just say here where I live. Okay. Okay, so he's saying that America funds Boko Haram. So they've gone in there to bomb the same organization that funds Boko Haram. I asked you who funds them. Okay, and it's not just America, by the way. Go and have a look. And if you look, at the nations, I was talking about Russia. I'm just going to make a quick analogy here. We were talking about Russia and what the G7 countries did to Russia. You know, the majority of the G7 countries did to Russia by freezing $300 billion dollars of their assets. And I talked last week about what the slapback was, which did back to most of the G7 nations were for this sanction because of Ukraine. But what America has done today by going into Venezuela, bombing Venezuela, killing people, okay, killing people, and then kidnapping, ambushing, and apprehending, okay, and just, you know, this is just a joke. Taking out their president under trumped up drugs charges. Now, I ask you, in a sovereign nation, how can you make that happen? But what they're trying to do, Donald Duck is flexing his muscles and he's trying to send a warning sign to Africa. Now, let me tell you, this is not going to work because America is going to reap what it's sowing. And that is why I am telling you, my brothers and sisters out there, make plans to leave. If you want to come to Gambia, Gambia is is an English-speaking country. It's a very beautiful country. It's easy to navigate. It's small, okay? And they're very welcoming, very lovely, very hospitable. If you want to go to Rwanda, to Ghana, wherever, but get out. You want to go Zambia, get out. If you want to go to South Africa, go. You understand? You want to go to Kenya, go out. Okay, because I'm telling you, America's going to reap what it's sowing, because you put a Donald Duck in the position of your leader. And I'm not talking about everybody who didn't vote, whatever. I'm just saying what it is. The reality is that. Okay. So, yeah, you're right. He needs to go to Disneyland. Check. You can't just go into other people's countries, decide to bomb it, and then take out their sovereign voted leader. And yes, they were having questions about the validity of this election. But when is there ever an election where there's not a validity over the election? If I remember rightly, when Trump was even being elected before, he was calling malpractice about the vote in Florida. So hypocrisy, once again, hypocrisy. Now, most of us are intelligent. We can read, we can write. We've been to university. Yeah, we've studied. And we can see the BS, because this is total BS. Okay? Now, Americans, you need to put forward that general strike that you was looking to do. The mayor of Chicago, Brendan Johnson, was talking about it. Go back and listen to him, okay? You need 12 million people for over 3 months just to do a general strike. Do it. You need to bring the country to its knees, because you have a dictator. You have a crazy ass dictator that is going to destroy your nation. The reputation and respect of the US is already now in the trash. Okay, it's in the trash. And you want to talk about other countries being holes? Yeah? Well, if Africa's a hole, then you're a trash hole. And I'm not talking about you individuals. I'm talking about Donald Duck, okay? I'm talking about Donald Duck, so don't take it personal. I'm talking about the actions that are being taken. Because if you ask me, I know that was not a democratically made decision. Are you trying to tell me that all parties decided to go and take that action? I know they never. You know they never. Did he go through the right processes to do it? Did he go through the UN to do it? Tomorrow is the UN, is going to be the UN address. Let's see what the UN says tomorrow, okay? Because I know a lot of leaders are not for it, And I know the leader of Brazil definitely said that this is a very dangerous move that he has made, yeah? This is a very dangerous precedent, and I agree with him. The silver. If this is a warning sign to Africa, I would say to all of my African nations that are now building themselves up, that have said no to the colonizer. It's time for us to be aware that they are sending in people to spy. They are sending in military wares and supplies around, okay? Doing exactly what they did with Venezuela. Just watch and study all of the moves that this Delta unit did. What they did was they infiltrated, firstly, they put CIA operatives in months and months before to watch everything that he did and everywhere he went, okay? They put in sleeper agents. So listen, so African nations that are uprising now, I want you to listen and watch exactly how the Delta unit force operates, okay? How they operate. And then the next thing they do is they put in a second line of defense, them with military, and they use drones, they use phone interception, okay? So stop using your phone, stop using social media, use high encrypted different forms of communication that cannot be infiltrated. Okay, I'm really sorry, we keep losing signal, but I would say to all African nations that are uprising, be vigilant, be super hyper and over vigilant, because this is an example. So watch the Delta unit and look at, watch the BBC and look at how they talk about how they undertook the operation, because they're very proud of their actions. Yeah, I don't know how, because I mean, if this is, they obviously don't like what I'm saying. So, once again, you know what this proves? Democracy doesn't exist. The rule of law does not exist. It's just dictatorship, them doing what they please. Okay? Okay. So thank you, Satiro Silva. Thank you so much. Yeah, respected the vice president because they threatened her to come out siding with them. And she came out saying, no, you kidnapped our president and we want him back. Bring him back. Put that man back in position. You've got no right to go into another man's country and then or another woman's country and to dictate and to just go in and bomb up the people, kill the people and take out the president and say, oh, we want to do this. Where's the proof? We hear the allegation, but where's the proof? Yeah? Where's the proof? Good old American greed. You're quite right. Yeah, the same thing they did in Africa. What's different to what they're doing in Venezuela to what they're doing in Africa? Tell me now. Tell me now. They came into Africa, killed the kings, the queens, took over their resources, enslaved the people. Yeah, isn't this the same? He wants to go and take the oil. They have 300 billion barrels of reserve oil in Venezuela. Okay? What did they do? They went into the other day and wanted to create this holy war. Now listen, we as people, we have to stand up. Yeah? Please boycott their goods. Let's write a list of the 10 most popular, most biggest earning goods and stop using them, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's nicotine, whether it's alcohol. Okay? All of these things, we just stop. Okay? All of their number one goods, we stop doing them. We start buying black. Okay? This is time for the 2026. This is time for our revolution, our New Year's revolution. I told you, I threw out New Year's resolution. I'm just down for the revolution now. Okay? We have to turn things back to us. Okay? Anyway, BlaXit family, I'm going to love you and leave you. But I hope that you realize the hypocrisy that is going on and that really this is a warning shot for Africa. But you know what? Just like what they did when they put travel bans on Burkina Faso, Mali, and so many other African nations, Chad, etc. What did they do? They put travel bans back because now we're fighting back. It is not the same as it was before. And I want all African nations to make strategic alliances together, because it's time for Africa to unite. Now you see what he's up to. Now you see his plan. It is time for Africa to unite. Those African leaders that are eating, right? Being led and governed by America. Now you see what it can lead to. It's time for us to rise up. It's time for us to rise up. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to shake up. And I'm telling you, all of my family that is in America right now, yeah, just hear me, just hear me, just hear me. Time to make plans to leave. Get in contact with BlaXit. Yeah, this year we're going to have more repatriation plots and more repatriation plans and homes as well, okay? Economic homes being built for you to afford, for you to get out and to leave and to live an alternative life, to live a good, peaceful, happy life. You can't put a price on peace, because trust me, there's going to be things happening in America where you're going to have them be watching over your shoulder, watching over your back. Because when you make trouble, you've got to remember there is always a clap back. You can't go into other people's nations and not expect a clap back. There's karma. It's the law of reciprocity. Okay, it's the law of reciprocity. Yeah, you reap what you sow. And I know our ancestors are not sleeping. And our ancestors will use any means necessary in order to avenge what happened to them also. So just remember, get out of the way of the karma. Get out of the way of the ancestors. Let them work. Leave them to their land. Yeah, because it's going to be a cursed land. Because they cursed themselves by what they're doing to other nations. Okay? So anyway, remember, if you want to come back to Africa, you want to come and live a happy, prosperous life. I left the UK. I was born in England, and I decided to come back and live permanently in Africa. Okay, I live in Gambia. I have my house. Okay, I've been living here. I've been operating my businesses. I've been, having a happier, healthier life. I've tried to do my best as a business developer to help other people to also come back and to repatriate. I'm a repatriational specialist. And this is what I've been homing in on since I first came here. And that was in 2011. So, I have a little bit of experience under my belt, and I am here to help. So please, do that. Okay, so somebody, Zip, thank you, Zip, Duda. He said Jim Beam, Johnny Walker, and Jack Daniels help make America great again. So these are the brands that we need to stop drinking anyway, yeah? And what is this woman? I don't know what that is. Okay, so listen, no, I'm sorry, I don't drink, I don't consume alcohol, and no, I do not smoke cigarettes, and no, I do not smoke anything, and I do not consume drugs. I live in Africa where I live a clean and healthy life. Clean and healthy life. Thank you very much for the offer, but no, thank you. I would prefer to be drug-free, because that is how they control you. They control you by using alcohol. They control you by using drugs. Okay, it's just a mind game. It's just manipulation. Okay, and they've been playing it for a very long time. Get out of their manipulation. Save your money instead. Save your money instead. Go and put that money that you would spend on cigarettes, spend on weed, spend on alcohol, and put it in a high yield account instead. Okay, stop buying their big guzzling American cars. Get yourself a banger that you can drive around, sell that one, put that money in the bank, start to make plans so that you can leave. Look at the best time to market your property, put it on the market and leave. Or if you're going to sublet your property, create an income so you can come here and you can sublet, because the rents here are much cheaper. I'm talking about PPP, which I was talking about the purchasing power parity. Okay, and to live here, I explained to you already, is much cheaper than living there. Much cheaper. The purchasing power in parity here, the PPP is cheaper. I will talk about that probably in detail. I did try and make a comparison before, and I explained to you, if I'd stayed in my 25-year mortgage, I'd have been over £600,000 in debt. Yeah, instead, I sold up and got out and then built my house here, okay, where I have my power from the sun, solar. Yeah, this is what's operating this now, okay, and I have my water from my borehole, okay. My water fills my swimming pool. I live in a lovely home. I have a lovely life, and you know what? I enjoy it, and I think enjoyment of life is the number one thing. That's what we all want, okay. That is what we all want, is quality of life and enjoyment of life, and living among my own people, living where I feel safer, living where I can be myself, and I can, be in a situation where I can grow my own food, and I not having, these Gregorian laws taxing me for driving my car through congestion charge, taxing me for watching my television, taxing you for using your phone in your car. You understand? It's just got ridiculous, and Big Brother constantly watching you through these, cameras everywhere. That's not living. That's not living. Having to ask in order to know that you can even book a holiday just to leave the country, to ask your employer. And the thing is, most of us now need to set up our own businesses, create our own products, and employ ourselves. Years and years ago, that's what we used to do. When our forebears, like my nan, came to the country and couldn't find employment, they created in England, they created their own employment. My nan used to run what we call tenement yard. Yeah, she used to buy houses and rent them, okay, to families, and then she used to sew and sell sheets and things at market. And she was clever. She used white people to face the people in the market to sell, but it was her that was actually producing the goods. So she had women working on machines, creating sheets and curtains and so on. And she was the first person to tell me and actually to teach me about the importance of owning property and having my own home. You understand? So that is the reason why I even had my first house. I bought it when I was 18. Yeah, because I listened to the guidance, and then it gives you, some form of asset. I know it's a little bit harder now. It's different now to what it was years ago, but it gives you an asset that you can work from, that you can use. Okay. And that is why I'm all encouraging you to buy £784. I'm not sure what that is in dollars. But, I think it's probably less than $1,000, I'm guessing. But, I'm saying to you that do that. That was in Bussorah. So, and then there's some in Bussorah, which is a little bit more different location. But, and that was a bulk buy. I think that was 6 plots. So please get in contact with us, okay, on +220 240 527. +220 240 5273. That's +220 240 5273. And I want to close today by saying thank you to, the team that has been working alongside me and supporting me throughout the years. Whether you were, here for a short time, here for a long time, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has supported BlaXit in some way, shape or form. I want to say a big thank you for everybody that has supported BlaXit, either donors who have donated via Patreon or via PayPal, or who have even just donated to one of our projects like Black Books projects, or also to the building of schools, etc. We've had some great donors over the years that have helped and support some big major projects, especially like building walls around the school. Thank you, aunties, and so on and so forth. So we've had a lot of support on those projects, okay? People that have supported Nemakunda when they had the storm, when they had the floods as well. We've done a lot of help also when they had the storms a few years ago, putting people's roofs on. So listen, you've done so much in Africa. You've helped also, some children's education, where we've been able to sponsor some children and sponsor some education. Even Osman Toure, if you remember rightly, you helped to sponsor his trip to go and get his master's in Rwanda. So you've done so much over the time. So just want to say thank you. I'm so immensely grateful, especially to our team on the ground, also to our directors, and also, of course, to our production teams as well that we've had especially our A1 day ones and those that are still here, still supporting, and still encouraging us and still working with us. Thank you so much. So I appreciate you. And like I said, we will be making more productions as time goes on. We did have a bit of a lull for personal issues, but you know, like I said, these things happen, but it doesn't mean that they always have to continue. And we all have our issues. The one thing I'd like to tell you is onwards and upwards, okay? I want you to remind you that you are beautiful, you are divine, okay? You're here on a mission. It's fated, okay? Remember your purpose, okay? Remember you are loved. Remember you are unique. Remember you are special. And remember that BlaXit loves you, okay? And we want you to come home to Africa, okay? But one of the last things that I want to say is that I want you most of all to love yourselves, because the more we love ourselves, the more we will respect ourselves, and the more we will unify, the more we will come together, and it will be a greater, prosperous journey for us and our future generations, because we're not doing this for us, we're doing this for our future generations. And we have to think, you know, 5 gens ahead, 10 gens ahead, just like what other nations are doing, just like what Singapore did. Okay? So I want to say thank you for everybody that supported us throughout 2025. I hope you continue to watch and follow us and support us through to 2026. And like I said, I do believe what happened in Venezuela is a warning shot for Africa. So we need to look sharp, we need to be vigilant, we need to unite, and we all need to come behind, you know, the 3 nations, particularly that are spearheading the fight against colonization in the Sahel, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, as well as Namibia, as well as Chad, as well as Guinea, as well as all the other nations which are now standing up. They're finding their feet. Okay, they're finding their feet. They're realizing that, you know, they're being hoodwinked. Ghana as well is finding its feet. Okay, but Nigeria, don't let them back on your soil again. Okay, you can't let the enemy in. It makes no sense. If you've got a personal issue, you deal with it in your house. You don't bring strangers in to go and deal with your issues, okay? We must learn that we need to, you know, be in control of our own personal affairs, because other people will come in and take advantage of you, okay? That's what people do. And they're only there to use and abuse you anyway, okay? So anyway, BlaXit family, got to say I love you so much. Just remember that we are, you know, we are one people, okay? We are one people. Okay, we should have unity. Okay, we should have one destiny, and we should have one love. And I will see you next week. All being well, I will see you next week, Sunday, same time, same place. I want to thank you for taking the time out to contribute, taking the time out to join the live. I want to say hello to Long, hello to James, hello to Zip, and hello to Ciro Silva. You all contributed quite a lot. And also, of course, Real Man in the Bush. Yeah, thank you so much. And also to Mark and to Kelly, and to so many others. You name, and Sacro. Oh, you got a long name there, right? You know who you are. And to Junior as well. Thank you, Junior. And 45 Trump. I don't know who that is. Oh, that's the person that says talk about Christians. Why don't you talk about black people killed? Why don't you talk about all of the lynchings that happened in America? Why don't you talk about the fact that we haven't had reparations yet? If you want to talk about Christian killings, why don't you talk about slavery? Why don't you talk about the enslavement of Africans? Why don't you talk about the killing and murder, the war crimes that have been done on Africans by Christians throughout the years? So let's talk about that. Yeah, and don't forget that there was also the epoch of the Arab slavery as well in Africa. It wasn't just Christians. So we have suffered as a result of all kinds of religions. Okay, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. We shouldn't be fighting. We should all be uniting under our own divinity. Okay? Everyone recognizes different creators or different gods or different deities. And the one thing that we should be uniting under is love. Respect and love. Okay, so I love you, BlaXit family. So I will see you next week. Okay, please remember to get in contact +220 240 5273, or you can email us info@blaxithome.com. I had a lot of spam, but I've cleared out most of it now, so I'll be able to get your messages. So that's info@blaxithome.com if you want to email us, and of course, if you want to text us questions for next week's show, do it +220 240 5273. Now, I only had like a couple of questions over that have been hung over, which I will deal with next week because they're quite lengthy questions and I do want to tackle them, and do them justice. So I didn't talk about them this week because I did feel that this issue, this hypocrisy that is going on at hand, which is a warning shot to Africa, we need to now be on guard and start to unite, and stand up as Africans. We all need to recognize ourselves as Africans and come under one banner. We need to unite. Okay? I love you, BlaXit family.